Everybody, welcome back to Rugby Wrap Up. I'm here with Wil Snape-Rogers and Taku Ngwenya.
He fluffed it. He fluffed it.
I'm sorry, that's a Freudian.
Taku Ngwenya. Sorry, do you want me to do?
Oh, sorry. Let's cut. Start it again. It's not the guy that ran around him. It's the guy. Anyway, cut.
Please come. You missed the chance. Please.
All right, we're ready to go.
much.
Yeah, there you go. Coming up next on Rugby Wrap Up, Bryan Habana and Wil Snape-Rogers. Rugby Wrap Up brought to you in part by The Balanced Palate, nutrition for peak performance, and the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street, the world's best rugby pub. Hey everybody, welcome back to Rugby Wrap Up. Matt McCarthy at the Fantasy Sports Network, Studio 34 in Midtown Manhattan, talking rugby. And we have the pleasure of being here with Mr. Wil Snape-Rogers and Mr. Brian Gary
Very well done, Matt.
Habana. I am Matthew Paul McCarthy, and we're doing the extra name here to make Will more comfortable.
Yeah,
because
it's necessary. It's necessary.
You
Without a
didn't
doubt.
get my middle names.
I know, but your double barrel surname.
Going with
counts as a
three.
middle name.
All you get is three syllables. Okay, so but to your three syllables.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, you're named after two Manchester United soccer stars.
I am Manchester United soccer legends. Firstly, great to be in the Big Apple. My second time in this amazing, energetic city. This one's a little bit quicker. The first one was a baby moon before our first was born. So really great to be here. Brian Gary Habana, named after the legends Brian Robson and Gary Bailey, two Manchester United footballing legends, to be honest. So probably bestowed with, some would say fortunate, some would say unfortunate, role of automatically being a Manchester United supporter. So soccer was the biggest thing growing up. I thought I was going to be the next South African export into the English Premiership. Didn't turn out that way.
Really? Oh, all right. Well, that's for another show. That's for Soccer Wrap Up, which we'll be launching next week with co-stars Brian and Will. But Will, you've got your hands full here in New York. You're the head of Rugby USA, and rather than ask him what he's doing here in New York in terms of accepting an award, what award did he accept, and what was it all about?
Yeah, so we gave Brian the Athlete Giving Back Award, which is an award that we give to sports people that continue to use the values of their game to promote social change. Brian has done a fantastic job since finishing rugby in starting the Bryan Habana Foundation and also Team Habana, which teaches kids from underserved communities leadership skills through the values of rugby. And so Brian was an obvious choice for us.
And the Laureus Foundation?
Yeah, so I've been a Laureus ambassador, Matt, for the last, we're now 9 years. And that opportunity to use, sport as a driving force for social change has been absolutely brilliant. As professional athletes, you're sort of looking for ways to give back, and Laureus give you that opportunity. They're a fund of Play Rugby USA. Myself, Sean Fitzpatrick, and Nolly Waterman were
You brought up Sean Fitzpatrick.
Well,
he's one of our favorites. He's been on the show.
He's the president of the academy, so I might as well, and let's just give him a punt. We were in Los Angeles last year, where as part of the Laureus Summit, we did a Play Rugby USA project visit, where Sean and his New Zealand influence sort of handed like a little 6-year-old boy straight down onto the ground, which didn't really go down well. Sean then carried on to go in a game of flag rugby, score a try while everyone was trying to console this little 6-year-old boy. But I think the values of sport and the power that sport has to change, people, communities, nations is really fantastic. As a South African, I've been literally first-hand privy to that. I was a 12-year-old boy sitting in Ellis Park Stadium when South Africa won the World Cup in 1995. The late Nelson Mandela walked out there in that number 6 Springbok jersey, handed Francois that cup called Bull, and Francois' famous words of, it wasn't for the 63,000 people in the stadium, it was for the 48 million people in South Africa. Laid a burning fire within a 12-year-old boy who never really understood the game of rugby before that specific point, to one day do the same. Fast forward 12 years, I was a part of a pretty decent South African side that won the World Cup in France, and then got back to South Africa and saw the impact, going to the rural townships in South Africa and seeing, little black kids running 2-3 kilometers barefoot behind the bus just to get a glimpse of their heroes that had now done something special. So,
and finally having a shot, perhaps.
Yeah, and just giving them that hope and inspiration. And again, CSI programs like Play Rugby USA, like Laureus, that give athletes that opportunity to use what we've been given, the platform we've been bestowed with, and the responsibility to inspire and give back. And you come to New York, where over in the Bronx, the project visit we did when I got you on Monday, where they potentially had no idea about who I was. Thankfully for Google, that showed my man versus cheetah race. They were able to get some sort of homework done. But just to see those kids' energy, see their discipline, their respect, that they're now in an environment where if they didn't have this sporting tool that gave them that opportunity, that gave them that not only reality of that they can make something out of their lives, it was absolutely brilliant. I think for us to be able to give back, because sport gives us so much, and to be able to in a small way use that tool to hopefully make a positive impact in the world is absolutely brilliant.
Well, you know what? Before we continue, I think it's important to let people know exactly what this guy has done on the pitch. It's an amazing amount of appearances. This is rugby. This isn't touch. It's not tennis. It's not soccer. Even for your heroes with Manchester, no slight of them. But with just the Springboks and professional rugby, you have played about 8 million rugby matches. Right? No, but seriously, it's a lot of rugby, and you're playing at the top level. You mentioned Sean Fitzpatrick. He's an All Black that would have loved to have taken your head off during a match as a Springbok, right?
Yeah.
But talk to that. What the longevity? What are the secrets to that?
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate, Matt. To be brutally honest, I told about the age of 20, I didn't really fully understand that I could make rugby a long-term thing. There was always a dream and goal of one day getting there, but until I was like sort of 2021, didn't really fully understand what it would have entailed to take that professional step up. And I was lucky enough to have a couple of mentors as a youngster, but one guy in particular, in Jake White, at that pivotal moment in my career where I was 21 years old, looking to potentially make rugby a thing. He said to me, listen, if you want to make it in this game, you got to get bigger, stronger, quicker, faster. You got to lay a platform that's going to sustain you for a very long time. I was fortunate, to be surrounded by people that supported me in that specific role and ability, and sort of picked up 8 kgs, which is, I don't know how many stone, or what.
That's at least
1 stone, 2 stone. I don't know what.
That's at least stone. We'll add that in the edit later.
Yes. Whatever it is. And, I then managed to maintain that, and, that constant drive. I was fortunate that for a bigger part of my career, I didn't have any serious injuries, and that came down to making sure I not only warmed up, but cooled down and recovered properly. I think I was genetically, fortunate in my makeup, where I've still got an incredibly sweet tooth, and I didn't show that for most of my career. So,
yeah, Foden was on this show. He talked about his sweet tooth.
Yeah, longevity. Again, I'm fairly lucky. I had some great coaches supporting me at times when I could have potentially been dropped. So some of those numbers could have been, 20-30% less.
124 caps.
124 test caps for my country. Over a 12-year period. So, I'm pretty fortunate. And like I said, you try, especially with the fortunes of modern science, try to use everything at your disposal to the best of your ability.
Are you here to say that you were using performance-enhancing drugs?
Oh, no, Matt Giddow and Drew Mitchell will definitely say I did. It was a constant battle denying the fact, or trying to...
People want to be as fast as you. Right?
Yeah, well, and I think if I was American, I would want to be as fast as Taku Ngwenya post that 2007 World Cup. So, no, it's all relative if one talks about it. But again, I was pretty fortunate genetically that I could do things and keep my body at a space where it kept me for a very long period of time.
You have now an opportunity with these kids. You have pathways. You have high school programs. You have the Eagles, but now the Eagles. You have the Major League Rugby, and we're creating stars, right? But introducing somebody like this to these kids has to be phenomenal.
Yeah, and Bryan kind of underplayed his impact that he made with them, because they may not immediately know who Bryan Habana is, but he joined in there as if it was, the most important thing for him to be doing that day and playing the game. And they could see that he was a really good person, a really focused person, and a fun person, a nice person, and they knew he was successful. And so those things create a lot of aspiration in kids, and they can see, and they understood because of the program that they've been through and the great job that Coach Rosario's done with them at that school, that, to be a good person and to focus and be disciplined and focus on your academics as well. And Bryan, again, spoke to them about the importance of academics as well as sporting performance. And having someone like Bryan there who epitomizes what they can be and creates that aspiration that is invaluable for them.
Yeah, and also, it speaks to that whole community aspect that is different than our American sports here. He's accessible. I mean, you're here on my show, which is, a lot of people are going to be wondering what the hell you're doing here, right? But he's on my show. He's meeting these kids. That's a great thing because literally I'm not accepting the fact that you're retired, number one. Number two, and we'll get back to that in a second, but the accessibility of rugby and the community aspect of it is something that we really need to drive home here in the United States.
100%. And there were other teachers at the school watching this going on. And I was standing at the side talking to them, and they were saying they've been visited by basketball players, they've been visited by NFL players, and they were nowhere near accessible or joined in the way with the enthusiasm that Bryan did.
Hey, we're going to the South Bronx. You're in town for a week, Bryan. We're going to the South Bronx.
I mean, we'll show them the best of the city,
First time subwaying as well. So, but I think again for me, I think there's some fantastic values in rugby, Matt, that I'm really appreciative of. And I think the biggest thing, seeing those kids and seeing the respect on all different levels that have been instilled in them. I mean, I've been since retiring, I haven't been the most intense training regime type of guy ever. So I was breathing pretty heavily.
Welcome to my world.
I was breathing pretty heavily after the first 15 minutes of running around with these kids. And just seeing the way they respected Coach Rosario's, instructions, commands, and some of those kids, they're 12, 13 years old, but I was sort of struggling to do some of the core stability workouts they were doing, but no one moaned. Everyone listened to the instructions. Everyone was quiet. And there were certain key triggers that Coach Rosario had, like, being able to put your hand on your pulse and knowing that that's what's keeping you alive. And just to see that respect that these kids had now got, and then hearing about their stories of diligently, in filling in their daily tracking sheets, something that they hadn't potentially done before. And now through the Play Rugby USA program, they're now doing things that they're learning respect, first and foremost, for themselves. First and secondly, for their coaches and the people that are actually helping them, for the people around them, and for the rules and regulations. And I think that's something that really sets rugby apart, the respect that this beautiful game gives us.
Yeah. All right, well, listen, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Mr. Wil Snape-Rogers and Mr. Bryan Habana right after this.
If you're just joining us, this is a big match and a big moment as Clijsters toes the line.
John, Anderson has really been struggling out there today. Mistake as Clijsters clinches another title. Don't let your nutrition get in the way. USANA, the official multivitamin of the WTA.
I'm Sean Fitzpatrick, and you're watching Rugby Wrap Up.
If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street.
All right, we are back. Matt McCarthy with Wil Snape-Rogers and Bryan Habana. Bryan, that was a spot that you saw from the Pig and Whistle, which I know that you were just at.
Yeah, it was. I'm not gonna lie. As a South African, we love our meat, and the barbecue baby pork ribs were pretty exceptional. A good setup.
Cormac McCormack is not a made-up name; it's a real name.
It is real, and I got to meet the great man. I think he's doing some amazing things for the game of rugby. In New York, just looking at his facility and seeing the amount of memorabilia and photos. And
upstairs is the sin bin. We do interviews from there.
Sin bin. I am up there as one of the most sin bin players in world rugby. I think as great as my try scoring record is, I think I'm 2 behind Quade Cooper in number 1, so I'm potentially number 3 position. Another factoid for you. We can Google that afterwards. Come out of retirement potentially means that I can get more, so maybe that's not a great factor to worry about. But those ribs were pretty decent.
If you're working with Sean Fitzpatrick on a regular basis, you need to beef up the sin bin totals because he'd respect that.
Yeah, he would. The thing is, Sean would though argue that in his time, which was quite a bit before my time, he could get away with a lot more. Yeah. So I've got the argument that the rugby became a lot less lenient when I was playing.
Well, the touch judges have power now.
TMO has power.
I think it was so far back they didn't even have a sin bin.
Yeah, no.
Did they have black and white TV back then with Sean? I'm trying to think.
They introduced the sin bin when I was active over here. Yeah. I mean, I got sin bin and I was like, what are you talking about? You have to go sit under the tree. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Because you're out for 10. You're out for no. And what it was a determined time by the referee.
No, okay, that's pretty strange. No, that's
this is in the 1870s.
Okay, yeah, no, I wasn't around. I wasn't even a thought back then.
Over here, we did a little differently too.
Like Americans do.
It was like hockey.
Like you do, World Series, only in American sports.
Exactly. Although it's an international game now, wise ass. So anyway, two segues. You brought up New York. And part of the rumor out there, the social media discussions, the arguments out there, are whether you're going to use French or English when you're calling for the ball from a barreling Matthew Bastaro for Rugby United New York next season. Is it going to be French or English?
Pour moi, c'est plus facile en français parce que j'étais en France pour 5 ans. Mais si Basta ne veut pas anglais, on peut. Mais en début, on parle français avec lui.
Ah, ça va de soi. Mais it may confuse our friend Ben Foden because he's going to be at the fullback position.
Yeah.
He doesn't speak much French.
I think
Je parle un petit peu français.
It's I think rugby language is pretty simple. So in Matthew Bastaro's defense, it's going to be interesting to hear how the Americans pronounce his name because actually it's Matthew Bastaro. Bastaro. So it's not Matthew Bastaro.
Not Matt the Bastard.
Not Matthew Bastard. So it's going to be pretty interesting.
Bastard on the run. How you doing? Hey,
I think him and Ben Foden will get on pretty well. It's going to be very difficult to be calling for the ball when I'm sitting at home watching the TV.
I think so. You and Corbacero will be in that lineup, even despite the fact that you guys were at each other the other night.
Geez, if I had to train as hard as Alex Corbacero trains, I would probably definitely contemplate coming out of retirement.
Would you be throwing it up on Instagram and all the time?
I would probably be throwing it up more on Instagram than what Corbs is at the moment. So he was brilliant value last night, and I think he's really played a massive part in the growth of rugby in the USA. On various different levels, now from recruitment to promoting the game to getting companies and people involved and understanding the game. So, I mean, to give up his international career as young as he did, especially for a prop, which is
to host rugby, play Rugby USA,
Rugby USA gala dinner. He's gala. We're all the same here. I think Corp's has done a great job. So a lot of respect, and like I said, I mean, he's doing some weird things like wrestling and M&A, EFC. I'm like, dude, you're retired now. Like, you don't have to look better than when you were playing.
All right, you, sir. You saw the professional bring this right back. Next up for Play Rugby USA events, and how can people help?
First of all, you can go to playrugbyusa.org and make a donation there. You can reach out to us directly and contribute through VIK. So any wearables, any jerseys that you want to share with us is always helpful for us. We have lots of events coming up. The Rugby Cup will be coming up on June 8th, in which we need volunteers for.
That's New York City, right?
That's New York City. Be on Randall's Island on June 8th. There'll be over 50 middle schools there.
Yeah,
playing flag and tag rugby, so you can get involved that way.
That's a very cool event.
Be there.
Very cool event.
Matt, sir, can I come in? I think what is brilliant and what people don't sometimes understand, especially from these CSI programs, it's nice to donate. It's nice to sort of, from the periphery.
Criminals, CSI?
Communities, sports initiatives. So when you have these community sports initiatives or CSI programs, what you do get is actually being able to experience. Wil said, you can donate memorabilia, donate on the website. But I think the best experience and the most gratifying is actually to be hands-on and to see the difference these programs and initiatives actually make in kids' lives. And like I said, I was in the Bronx this past week and seeing these kids and seeing how they portrayed the values that have now been instilled in them. You wouldn't get that by just giving a donation. You wouldn't just get that by. So I'd really encourage people to, yes, support and give back, but try experience, what exactly they're doing. Try experience what the organization are instilling, because they're using the values of rugby, but it's more than just using the values of rugby. They're creating better people, better communities, and they're just uplifting environments that are really great. And if you don't experience that firsthand, it's sometimes difficult to really understand the concept.
Agreed.
I think
all right.
you can understand it firsthand if you're a rugby person. So if you're a player, a coach, a fan, like, you understand what rugby's given you. You understand that it's given you a disciplined work ethic. It's given you long-lasting friends. It's given you a community, and
it can give you a show.
It can give you a show.
It can give you a
only
show.
to the best.
Yeah.
But what that does is we're the part of that community that gives this to people that don't have that opportunity.
Right.
And we provide that through going to the schools, providing our academy, where we offer both academic support and wraparound services for workplace readiness. And so please give to this community and understand what a wonderful community we are and how we can all help.
Excellent. And it's a great cause, and it's a no-brainer for you to come on here. But we also have a star in the room, and I want to build up the star power a little bit for these kids, specifically MLR, and when he comes over next year to play for Rugby United New York. But I want to go through some superlatives for you, some questions. for you
Just
to
before we go to
answer.
that, we talked about memorabilia, and you now, because of rugby, having a rugby show. I'm not seeing any South African memorabilia.
That can change.
Surely, like,
I put up what people give me.
oh,
and send.
okay.
These everything here has a story.
I
except
did
New York
not put
Rugby
that
Club,
number.
that's my rugby club, the oldest club in the United States. By the way, you are
Okay.
honored by being in that corner. my friend.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I would
He has
not.
to deal with all the clubs on a local level, so I didn't put him under that.
Okay.
that
Thank you
stress.
very much. I appreciate the honor.
Biggest win.
Biggest win.
This
Oh,
is gonna be
wow.
rapid
Oh,
fire.
so it's the Bulls. I played for the Bulls. We had to secure a home semi-final in 2007. We beat the Reds 92-3.
Okay, how about for your country?
Oh, country. It would be. Would it be the States or Samoa? 64 something against the States.
No, I don't mean by the largest. I mean impact.
Oh, impact. Oh,
gonna
wow.
say,
Sorry,
wow,
sorry.
yeah.
You said biggest win.
What's
Sorry.
the most
biggest.
okay, most significant.
Most satisfying or most significant. That's a tough one. I think obviously winning the World Cup in 2007 was
Gonna
great.
say, you're picking,
It's pretty big. But to be honest, beating New Zealand in 2009 in Hamilton to win the Tri Nations was probably one of the most amazing feats. Not everyone gets to go to New Zealand and win a game.
Yeah.
To then win that game, to be crowned rugby championships or Tri Nations back then winners was pretty amazing.
Yeah. How about professionally?
Professionally, I'd go back to that Bulls game. 92-3. We had to literally beat the Reds.
Nothing in France.
En France, il y a quelques. I won, obviously, my first season, I won the double, but it was pretty disappointing. So, we talk about respect and values of the game. I sort of let down myself. The game of rugby, I sort of dived in that Heineken Cup final against Sarries at the Principality Stadium. When you have a legend of Johnny Wilkinson, you don't want to sort of mar, he's sending off. But, we had some pretty good wins for Toulon, but I think in that we had to win by 76 points against the Reds to get a home semi-final, and no one believed it was possible. And to be brutally honest, we actually went down 3-0 in the first 10 minutes of the game and ended up winning 92-3, which was probably...
one ruck changed everything.
One ruck changed absolutely everything.
Favorite teammate?
Ooh, favorite teammate? I'm going to go Jock Free.
Favorite coach?
Oh, you can't do that to me.
Oh, I can, and I did.
Favorite coach? I'm going to go Heineke Meyer.
Oh, really? Because of the jacket?
No, because of...
Sharp jacket.
Heineke...
Go wear that jacket, though. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Heineke obviously he sort of pulled me over as a youngster when I was 21, took me to the Bulls, actually gave me an opportunity to be a part of some success, and then got back to him with the Springboks in 2012 when I potentially was at the end of my rugby career, but he sort of reinvigorated that desire to want to play at the highest level. So, it's difficult to say because each and every coach had its own, had his own speciality, and I got backed by everything, whether it be Jake White, who plucked me out of obscurity, Peter de Villiers, who backed me when he should have Heineken. So it's difficult to say. Least favorite coach, maybe Fabien Galtier, who never
Because I didn't ask that question, but he volunteered that one.
who never selected me one time in my last professional season.
All right. And Bulls or Stormers?
Partial. Fence sitter.
No, this is my game show. Oh man. Bulls or Stormers?
Stormers.
Ooh, that's gonna reverberate. I can feel it cracking across.
It's because I live in Cape Town now.
Okay, and that leads us to our final question of life after rugby. Includes?
Ooh.
You seem like you're adapting well.
No, I'm really enjoying it at the moment. I'm busy with a few different things, and I think I'm fortunate that I was able to build a brand, with rugby. But I think one of the things that's really close to my heart is giving back, and I've got my foundation work, through the Team Habana initiative, which will hopefully go from strength to strength. We've been running for 3 years in the UK, started up in South Africa in 2018. So, knowing the importance of being able to give back and that opportunity we get given to make a difference in people's lives, and knowing firsthand in South Africa how critically important that is. Hopefully there's a big part of giving back, and hopefully I'll be able to make success of life after rugby. I think that's the most important. I think it's a very individual thing in terms of how you measure it, but I think for me being able to make a success in my personal goals for that will be critically important.
some coaching opportunities in the Bronx that that we're setting up.
All over Manhattan. As a matter of fact.
I've got some wood burns from the wooden floor over in the Bronx this week.
This man is a genius. This is why you're running an organization. He just came up with a great idea. 2 birds with 1 stone. You player coach with Rooney next year. Rugby United New York. There's the ball right there. You can get acclimated it right now in the studio. Throw it around a little bit. You could be a player coach, coaching with them, and then playing with Rooney, demonstrating what the kids should do on and off the pitch.
Hey, Matt, this is
Brilliant.
your opportunity to get Bryan at New York Rugby Club. And what are you doing, man?
This is true.
Apparently the oldest rugby club in the United States.
1929, an oldest standing rugby club, meaning by itself. There are athletic clubs that might have a team like Olympic something or other out in California.
Okay.
That's got a whole system behind it. This stands by itself.
The one selling point you're going to need to get across to me, though, is
35 starts old boys.
Yeah, I'll take all that. The one stat you got to give me is the
just get him the ball.
Winters in New York. Rugby being a winter game, I absolutely despise cold.
We can arrange.
If you arrange something around
adapt
there,
the schedule. We'll adapt the schedule to the old boys' schedule because when we wake up in the morning, if there's a little bit of frost in the air, you got like 5 guys that show up. So we don't do that. It's a warm weather contingent process. But before we go, I have that hat on the table there. Yep. That was from the Rugby World Cup Sevens. You were working with HSBC with Ben Ryan and Zach Test, my buddy.
Perry Baker up there.
And Perry Baker and Carlin Isles. And that leads me to a question. And Brett Thompson, who was your opposite in the World Cup 2015. And I'm pretty sure you guys exchanged jerseys at the end. I think Brett's still wearing that jersey, as a matter of fact. But Rugby World Cup Sevens and all these guys that are flying up and down the pitch. Where did Bryan Habana fit in there?
Wow. I think
26-year-old Bryan Habana.
I think I'd give myself a good go. I definitely believe that Colin Isles and Perry Baker would make me look silly just by their raw play. So,
come on, we got to beg to differ on that one. I mean, 15s, you have to be a well-rounded player, number one. Number two, I've seen you chip and catch your own kicks over All Blacks in a 15s match where they're trying to murder you, number two. And number three, your speed would not be something that they could contend with easily.
At my prime, again, sevens, I think the game of sevens has grown exponentially, and it's really amazing to see how well the American sides are doing, both male and female. And I think you've now created global superstars in guys like Danny Barrett, Perry Baker, Carlin Isles, and it's brilliant to see. So hopefully that growth continues. San Francisco World Cup was absolutely phenomenal. I think not knowing what to expect and getting here literally on my own accord, but being able to see Americans accepting this game that is really, I think, a really easy concept to understand and really fun, really exciting, and creates a beautiful atmosphere within the stadium was fantastic. And the Americans might actually go on and become the series champions this year for the first time in their history.
Crazy.
So I'm not going to back myself against Colin Isles or Perry Baker. At my prime, I would have given them a good go.
Who's faster? Prime Norton, Daniel Norton, you, Perry Baker, or Matthew Drew Turner, sneaky fast?
Ooh, Matthew Drew. I'm going to go Perry Baker.
Really?
Easily. I mean, he runs like a 10.2.
Right, Carlin says he's faster than and Perry acknowledges, but I think Perry might be a tad humbler. Just kidding, Carl. Final thoughts, my friend.
Well, thank you, Matt, for allowing us to come on here. Thank you to Bryan for coming over here and representing himself and Play Rugby USA so well. I just want to reiterate again, like Play Rugby is part of this community that we want everyone to be proud of. Any way you can contribute to us, support our programs, share what we do with other people, and we really do appreciate. It's a pleasure to come to work every day and think about how we can change the lives of kids in underserved communities, and we need everyone's help to do so. So we appreciate it.
And thank you to you, because you are indeed changing lives, and thank you to you for coming in and helping out with that cause, and continued success to you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Right.
Much appreciated.
On that note, we are unfortunately out of time because I could talk rugby with you fellas all day long. But on behalf of Mr. Bryan Habana, Mr. Wil Snape-Rogers, I'm Matt McCarthy for Rugby Wrap Up at the Fantasy Sports Network Studio 34 in New York City, signing off.